That was fun, huh?
Ronchero,
Yo,
What's up,
Jay?
Jay?
what's up, Mr. Cady? How are you?
Good. I want to know who bought them all from like 11 to 1. You see the way they just stuck them up there as though someone had orders. And then they just rolled off the page like a marble after they took out all the stops.
It was bad.
Yeah, well, or good if you were right.
Nope.
Anyway,
Hold on.
True.
Jay, by the way,
Yeah.
you taught me about remember we were talking about the low probability bet with the high payout versus the high probability bet.
Right.
That has saved my bacon. Thank you so much. Just
Why? What'd you do?
the prioritizing the temptation is to always think that we're going to be right. So then the prioritizing is like, well, this has a slightly lower probability, but the payout's monster.
Right. Yeah,
And
a lot of people are looking towards that in this environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Low
And
probability, high reward.
yeah, but part of staying in business is the probability aspect far outweighs the potential return.
Yep.
Super good advice. Thank you. I just say thank you so much. You saved my bacon on that one.
Yeah. Now I just have to stick to that too, and I'll be in good shape.
I had this guy who runs a chop shop. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let's phrase it politely. He runs a late stage venture firm that sells stuff to grannies. Came over today and was asking me about RSI, and I asked him, because typically with an RSI question, they are always like overbought or oversold. And I asked him, do crashes occur from overbought or oversold? And so that's a killer cocktail party question to all those people. Do crashes occur from overbought or oversold? And I
didn't even know they pay attention to that. I didn't even know they knew what they were. Some of these chop shop guys.
Yeah,
They actually look at RSIs. Jesus Christ.
they do. They do. They were
Still don't know
selling.
what RSI means, though.
They were selling late stage.
You were talking about
SpaceX.
RSI the SPAC. That makes no sense.
To grandmothers, it's fucking crazy to listen to this stuff.
Yeah, that's these guys.
Yeah,
Jesus, how can you not after all of this? How can you still sit there and say I can't short? I don't believe in shorting.
Because what happens, it's not that. You got to understand what's more fearful to me. It's not the opportunity on the downside that I'm missing. What I'm more fearful of missing by shorting is the long setup that I know is going to be a lot more beneficial to me. You understand? It's almost a confidence thing. Like I cannot, the way I'm wired, for me to get involved, get bearish, and get paid for being right bearish, and then flip at the right time. You understand? Flip and get aggressive on the complete opposite side. It's not going to happen for me. You understand? I got to be a realist. Some people can do it. I cannot do that. You understand? I can't do it, especially if I get paid on the downside. You understand?
Yeah.
Because, you build a little bit of a bias and you feel good and you're enjoying yourself, right? Because you have fun when things are like, so the money, and, obviously it's a conviction confidence thing, but the money that I'm leaving on the table by not taking advantage on the downside over the long run, by me passing on that and waiting for that long setup, I look at as beneficial. Again, that's just me. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not right or wrong, but that's just me.
Listen, there's too much, I think, and not enough years of therapy to unpack what's going on inside your dome. So I get it.
That's the truth. That's definitely the truth.
Jay, have you ever, like our parents would always say, you're not going to change, or you're going to meet somebody and they're not going to change, stuff like that. And I'm starting now, after all this time, to realize that in regards to your approach, and mine as well, that, or as Pete Stottlemyre used to say, if you're a fastball hitter, don't try and learn to hit curveballs.
Right.
Just crush fastballs.
Yeah, it's so true, right? Baseball fits this game.
Yep.
It fits this game so well. Like if you're a good fastball hitter, you're fighting off the curveball just to stay alive to get that fastball, right? Right. So that you're fighting off enough curveballs just so that pitcher gives in and gives you the fastball that you can rip. And it's so true. Like in this game, right? You stay alive until your fat pitch comes around, and then that's when you try to swing. So I guess to both your point and Ronchero, to your question, if I was capable of, like we were talking about with Chris the last time I was on with you guys, just making some money, grinding it out on the short side, and then still be able to take advantage of my fat pitch on the long side when it came around. If I was capable of doing that, that's a different story. But I think the problem with most bears and why they lose money is they see the big opportunity, right? They see the big opportunity. Like most bears I know that have got run over in this game and knocked out of this game, they make money shorting. It's not that they don't make money. They make some money on the downside, but then they make that big bet for the big blow up, right?
Right.
And they build up such a bias to cash that ticket that not only do they get run over and not admit they're wrong and get lumped up, they miss an even better opportunity on the flip, right?
Yeah.
When we flip to the upside and shorts get squeezed and all that stuff. So that's the difficulty of this game and the short side. It's just, you got to be wired a certain way. And I'm definitely not wired the right way.
Have you heard this? I had a friend, Howie Cohen, he used to stop trading after a little bit, and he'd say, because you only have so much good karma in a day, right? The idea is that we can't be perfect. So if you, right, like you're saying, you're just, you can't, like, actually reversing and doing it correctly is like tempting fate.
It's so funny you bring that up, because that's one of the things, like I saw, and I really came to the conclusion that I just got to stick to what I'm good at and have confidence in, because like just when I applied logic to it, I said, wait a second, do I really think like I'm going to just knock the ball out of the park and crush it on both the upside and down? Like, am I going to get it, hit every up and down in this mark? You know what I mean? Am I that good? I know I'm nowhere near that good. Like I'm being honest with you. I don't have enough faith or confidence in my ability in this game, trading, or my skills in this game, to think that I can catch each setup on the long and short side. You know what I mean? I can never come to that conclusion. I don't have the confidence that I'm capable of doing that.
Well, I mean, there's the understanding of like the Clint Eastwood thing of like a man has to know his limits.
Yeah. But, like you guys, and just a lot of people in general, there are people who play both sides, right?
Yeah.
And, they do it well. And so that's what I'm saying. It's not like it can't be done, but it's just so difficult for me. You know what I mean? It's so difficult for me. I'm being honest with you. It's so difficult for me.
And how's this, right? The pain of losing is greater than the joy of winning.
Yes. Oh, that's so true.
Do you guys think that that's true? Because I feel a whole hell of a lot better when I win as opposed to when I lose.
Wait, you feel a whole lot better
when I win than when I lose. I think for me, winning
good.
feels better than losing.
I don't feel like that on for it. That's good. That's a good thing to have. You know what I mean? Because like my father, you talk about gambling, like was just a degenerate gambler, nut. And, he would get nothing out of winning ever. You know what I mean? Nothing out of winning. And believe it or not, even though he felt like shit losing, right? That's what gamblers tell you. That feeling was so powerful that, you know what I mean? It was almost like he was chasing that, but he never enjoyed winning. And that's a sickness, right?
I don't think so. Sick. I think we expect to win. I think it's like hey, we go to work, we're expecting to win. It's what we do. I mean, year over year, decade over decade. So the understanding is that trauma from losing is far more costly than the fulfilling the expectations of winning. It'd be like, hey, I'm long 100 shares of Amazon from $200 lower versus long, and that person's completely unpredictable versus the person who's long 1 million shares of Amazon at where it's currently trading and it starts to go bad. That person's completely predictable, right? They got to go.
Right. Yep.
So So, yeah, I mean, winning is just like, hey, let's have another martini.
Yeah.
Um,
You guys, I mean, and Charlie loves it. The psychology of just behind gambling and the market in general. I mean, it could fry your brain. No, like when you start diving into biases and emotions in this game,
right?
oof, it like when I have conversations, like even with you guys, when I have a conversation on a webinar and we start talking about like how we're wired, emotions and psychology, I feel like I got hit with a tractor trailer by the time that webinar is over. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
thinking about all that stuff is just, it's deep shit. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
heavy shit. There's so much of it involved. And I mean, basically it's the most important thing in this game, really, right? Everything you do.
Oh, well, having, like you say, waiting for your setups and high probability is really
Well, that's something you put in place to keep those emotions and bias in check, right?
or at least, shall we say, it gives you a leg up on a positive outcome to a trade, which then reinforces, which gives you slow positive cash flow, which then allows your emotions to remain manageable.
Right. That's the key word, manageable. That's the key word right there.
Manageable, right? Like,
Easier said than done.
right? Like, can you imagine, right? Like all these Robinhood people out there who are now watching the markets trade like this, and God knows where they're getting filled in this. The free commissions.
Yeah, they don't, think back, like they don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? They're having fun, then they're gonna be miserable. They lost more money than they thought they would. And like in the heat of the moment, they just went on, they had a rigged market where they were printing their own money for so long, thought they were Houdini, right? They figured out a way to make money.
Yeah, this is easy.
Yeah.
Did you hear the press conference today where the guy from Bloomberg, bless his heart, he asks
What is
Kaplan
it?
about Kaplan's trading,
Oh, what he said?
and
I didn't catch that.
How'd that go?
and he goes, so we want the exact dates and times of Kaplan's trades to Powell.
Wow, Kaplan, he was talking about specifically.
Yeah, he named him. He goes, Kaplan. We want
Wow.
Kaplan's dates and times of his exact trades. And Powell brushed it off, and he has this kind of like grandfatherly, like it's all going to be all right, everybody,
Right, right.
right? It's all, don't
Yeah.
worry,
He tries to
everybody.
soothe people. Yeah.
Right. And he had such sort of like, he was saying he doesn't really understand what's going on in regards to the market. They're just going to try and do whatever they can.
Yeah.
And at
Yeah.
the same time, he was saying, but don't worry.
Right.
And then in regards to Kaplan, he's like, oh, well, yeah, we don't really want to talk about that.
All right.
And it made me think, like, does that mean he's like playing wizard behind the curtain? Like he's like, oh yeah, don't worry, people. He was kind of trying to reassure people, no matter what happens, right? If everybody at the Fed is trading their own account, does that mean that they've learned that the Fed is trading their own account? And
All
or is
right.
it like, backing everything up? And I was just like, God, why does he sound so grandfatherly? Like it's all going to be okay. And yet at the same time, he's saying we don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, if you go back with the 2008 debacle, right, and with Paulson and Bernanke, they too, like Bernanke had that calm demeanor where he came across as he had a handle on things, but then after it was all said and done, years later, like I don't know if you guys caught those, like the documentaries and all those shows that came out.
Yeah.
They had no clue. They had no clue.
idea.
They had no idea, and it was just scary. Like you remember Bernanke coming out and like you were saying, soothing everybody, keeping everybody calm. Like he had an idea of what was going on, and there was a plan behind it, but everything was just they were coming up with ideas on the fly. You know what I mean? Like on the fly. What should we do? I want somebody to come up with an idea today, or what should we do? And it's scary how close we came to the end game there.
Yeah.
That's why I tell everybody, I'm an optimist, right? I get thrown into that perma bull category many times, but 2008, I was in my bunker, all comfy, hiding out, anticipating the end. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't come out and lie to everybody and say, listen, oh yeah, I was buying every day a weakness into that selling. Everybody was so scared. No, I was in the bunker, Ronchero, with my pillow, my teddy bear, and a life supply of food, waiting for the end. I'm telling you right now.
Wait a second. I have a question. I have a follow-up question. What kind of food does Jesus keep in the bunker?
That's a good question. Coffee.
Hands.
Coffee.
Coffee. Well, duh.
Coffee beans. But yeah, so because again, like to the point you guys are making, it was just, that was one time that I think, and think of it too, that was like my first, I've been through corrections, but that was the one time where I really came to, like, I acknowledged, and the realization that nobody has any idea, what the end game is here, And then when you saw like Lehman blow up and go under, and Las Vegas Sands running out of money. I mean, think about that. Like one of the largest casinos out there, right? Casinos were money printers to us. The thought of them that there was no liquidity, they couldn't get any money to keep their doors open. If it went on for another week, it was just a scary time, But
So, touching on do crashes occur from overbought or oversold?
Well,
Right.
oversold, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because think about it, right? Because the prudent shorts cover, right? If you're short and it's oversold, right? And you just be alive still, you would always cover it oversold.
Not all of Jay's buddies. They're doubling down.
Right, but I mean, the shorts that are doing it for a business proposition have to cover it oversold, especially because stocks go up more than they go down.
Yeah, and
Next,
it's funny. I'm a big sentiment guy, Chris. I pay attention to sentiment a lot, right? And it's interesting because I make sure I put this disclaimer out and remind people when we get into climates like we're in now or 2008. The crashes occur when those bullish sentiment signals light up, where you usually see a bounce and you don't see that bounce. You understand?
Sure.
And those sentiment signals are telling you something is different here. You know what I mean?
I think that's what you saw today. Do you think you saw that today? That's what I think you saw.
Well, here's it's funny because I wanted to talk about the last couple of days and today. What I think we are at a big spot here, and that's what we've been talking. I think if this thing rolls over from here and accelerates to the downside, you really, really, really have to be careful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These lows, and I'm not saying big picture wise, we can stabilize these lows, we can bang around them, squeeze off of them for a few weeks, months, whatever, and then roll over. You understand? This could be the start of a bear market. I have no idea.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is, if this low we just put in gives up, right, over the short term, where sentiment's at, where RSI, all the breadth, all these things are at, it's telling you there's something major behind this thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's not just the Fed. There's something big at play here.
Well,
so that's what we got to keep an eye on.
That's what I thought I saw today with all of those sweeps that started coming in on the big indices. How many sweeps did you see on IWM?
Oh my God.
And it wasn't like child's play shit.
No.
There were multi-million dollar sweeps, one after the other. They just kept hitting it.
Yeah, they're without a doubt. There are funds out there or whatever the hell's out there scrambling for protection. You know what I mean?
Big.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So yeah, it may, again, I have no idea, Ronchero, I'm being straight with you, but I think we will find out soon enough. You know what I mean? We will find out soon enough. And I think the bullish, the glass half full here would be that, what was it, Monday? Monday's lows hold. So if we do see buyers continue to show up into weakness when they get tested, we probably have something to play off of for at least, a couple of weeks, a month, or whatever the case, right, until sentiment washes out all this bearish sentiment.
Yep.
But if they can't hold and we can't get a squeeze together off as bearish as sentiment's been over the short term here, again, that's a la 2008.
Yeah.
That's a la 2008. So we'll see what happens.
Let's put it this way, right? We're going to say that if it can't work off an oversold condition, then you have a problem,
Yep, exactly. That's exactly it.
right?
Exactly it.
And that's where it will start,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Right. So then we get to see, what's really there.
Right. And right when you get these, again, violent crashes, the COVID crash or 2008 or whatever the case, you hear that a lot, right? You hear, oh, we're oversold and we're due for a bounce. And it's like you hear that every single day, right? As the market just melts away, right?
Right.
So,
except that
question.
they've created a monoculture of dip buyers for the last 10 years with the Fed and all those quote emergency measures. So,
but do the dip buyers really matter? Because do they, if shit's gonna hit the fan, like, do you think these dip buyers, they matter? They don't just get run over. Like if you're talking about circuit breakers and all that shit, that's a different story, to slow things down to the downside. But are you talking about retail here? Like
I'm
retail
saying
buying
that we will have a chance to sell a bounce even in a bear market.
You will have a chance to sell up. Oh, okay. That's what you're saying.
To sell a bounce.
Bouncing. You won't
Right.
go right. But to your point, crash events, there's not much of a balance to sell into.
Well,
Think of COVID. Think of COVID, the
Right.
COVID crash.
Right.
Right.
There was no bid. There was no
nothing.
bid. There
Right.
was nothing. Right. There was no bid.
So like dip buyers, I remember they bought those the first couple dips there that looked appetizing, but they just got trampled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just got trampled. So yeah, bear markets without a doubt. That's why I think bear markets are more treacherous. They wear you out, these bear markets. I'd rather lose a little money I guess if you're fully invested, you'd rather have a chance to get out, right?
Well, speak for yourself. I happen to be a bear.
Okay. Oh, so you'll take it. You'll take crash. You'll take bear market. You'll take anything at this point, right? But here's the thing: if right now, you should be, I mean, after what you've seen, especially into the highs. I mean, we could talk hours of this, but you can't be all. You shouldn't be all in and caught at this point, right?
Are you talking about short? I mean, we've been short, but we just keep rolling down.
No,
at this
bull.
point,
If you're a
paid
bull,
for.
Right. If you're a bull,
yeah.
I would say that until you have an actual person to blame, they're going to expect Mr. Powell to bail them out.
Oh, yeah. No, here's my question to you guys. See, bears, you see, guys, to bears, the two bears I'm talking, I got to repeat myself 6 times, right? Okay. If you were long, right? If you were long coming into this corrective phase before, like as it started.
Yes.
Okay,
I have friends who bought the highs.
Okay.
Yep, there are plenty of them out there.
My point is you should have taken down your risk by now.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
But my friends who are pro traders who are long from the highs are still long.
They're still long.
That's not good.
Yep. Right. That's where you're asking for trouble, right?
Right.
Yeah, we still have more to go then.
Right.
Oh, God, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to
We
hear
still
that.
have more to go then.
You know what I mean? I don't want to hear that.
And the dip buying that's my point, Jay, is that we're going to get a bounce because they've always bounced, and that's the way. If the sun always rises, and if this is the way things are, and if you call her twice and she doesn't call you back, right, that kind of thing. Like they're going to keep using the same playbook without understanding that the background has shifted.
Right.
So that's when I think that we'll just get a bounce, and that I think that allows us to actually finally we have a job again, Jay. We can trade.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It was horrible. I tell everybody that we've been talking about that. And I don't speak for everybody, but from the summer last year up until this correction, I'm being honest, it could have been a full-fledged bear market. It could have been the worst crash since 1929, and it wouldn't have made a difference to me because I was playing so fearful and scared. You know what I mean? I had no weight on. So basically from the summer on, all the way up until we rolled over, I couldn't buy anything. I couldn't get long of any size. Okay, overnight, I'm talking about as far as swing positions. So like I'm telling a lot of people who are in my shoes, it only gets better from here for us, because at least now we can trade again. You know what I mean? We can play again. There's
Right.
enough movement where you'll have entries. You know what I mean? They'll sell them enough to where you can dip by and play a squeeze and that sort of thing, even if we're in a full-fledged bear market. So for a lot of us, it can't get any worse than the last 3 months of the year last year and to now,
Yeah.
Because Chris,
Yeah.
the reason why I say that, and Ronchero, I just, without seeing something like this happen, I just couldn't size up into the highs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. At some point, you need something like a flush
A reset.
to create new opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A reset.
If
Exactly.
if every day is new highs, right? It's the equivalent, because there's no reference point, right? It's like you get into a spaceship, you fly to the end of the universe.
Right.
You get out of the spaceship, what's there? Right? We don't know, right? Like to your point, like you can't size up into the highs.
Right,
You have
right.
no reference
Right.
point.
That's a good analogy. Yep.
You'll be dead by the time you get to the edge of the universe anyway. I don't know why you're using that analogy.
I mean, yeah, I mean, literally, think about it. Like you fly to the end of the universe. Like, what's
Yeah.
there? Are you back at the beginning of the universe? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. No, but you're right. Because now, like, as bad as it seems right now, right? At least we see some cards on the table, right? We've seen some selling. We've seen, how this market's reacting to what we were concerned about. And now, we got things to watch, right? We'll see how if these lows hold through the early part of earnings season here. Is there any buying that comes into the selling when they test their lows, right? Does the price action look constructive? Does the flow look constructive? We got a lot of things to look at to get a measure on risk and decide if it's worth it or not. Into the highs, they were just buying Apple and fucking Tesla every single day.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's what everybody else was doing. They were just buying Apple and Tesla every day.
Yeah, it's like watching the fat kid climb the tree and going out on the skinniest branch, right? That shit's great.
That's exactly it. But you're running on fumes at that point, right? It's obvious. You see it. It's only a matter of time. That type of action cannot last in the market. Now, it's very difficult to get a gauge on when it ultimately stops, but that's a clear-cut sign that the market's running on fumes when they're playing ping pong between two stocks and climbing the ladder on them, every other day. So going back to my point, if we want to look at the glass half full here, bulls, there's going to be more opportunity here. We just, got to be smart about it. You got to wait for entries, but there are going to be more opportunities that the risk reward's worth it, as opposed to what we were seeing for the past 3 months, because that was a debacle. That was a debacle.
so Jay, I can tell you at the lows in 08, they just like you were talking at the highs. Like you remember at the highs, they were just buying them every day and there was just no relief. There was just relentless. And at the lows in 08, right, it traded 665 in the S&P for 5 days. Right. And you could sell the 500 puts. You could do the fence. You could do the 500, 700 fence at 665 for a credit.
Wow.
At the low.
So let me ask you a question.
I
So
did it, but
in 2008, right? You're talking about the lows.
Yeah.
You were in front of the screen looking at the price action and like pulling up quotes. Honestly, you obviously were, because you have an idea of where things were trading at. You were watching it all.
We were on the floor doing it.
Oh, okay. So you were there. See, I was a broker, so I had client money. Okay. At that point, my clients, I was in cash for a big portion of that downfall, because again, I was scared shitless. But my clients were blowing up anyway, all around me. Real estate, right? couple of my clients, they had shopping centers all over Minnesota, all these places blown up. So, their speculative account with me, they couldn't give two shits about, you know what I mean? So I didn't even know what was going on into the lows in 2008. I'm being honest with you. What I was doing, Chris, you're going to laugh. I was liquidating bank accounts. And then what happens, if you remember, I think it was when Washington Mutual, no. It was a bank out of California where they raised what you were insured for. Remember? Do you remember that? They bumped it up from 100 to 200,000. So
Right,
what
and-
happened was one of the banks in California went under, and there was a line 3 blocks long, people waiting to get their money out of the bank. Okay, think about that. They're hearing their bank, they can't get their money out. They stuck their card in the ATM machine, Ronchero. It spit their card right back at them. Okay, can you imagine? So now, everyone's like, what the so now everyone's doing research. Nobody paid attention to any of this shit. And we're trying to find out, okay, if banks go under, what are we insured for? Okay. And a regular bank account then, okay, I think it was 100,000 for a married couple, 50,000 each.
Yeah.
So think about that. If you have a bank account with 400,000 or 500,000 in it, and the bank goes under, you're only assured for 100 of that 400 or 500.
FDIC.
Okay. So what they did is they bumped it up, I think, to 200. I think it was. They bumped it up. So now people can spread it out to different banks. You know what I mean? People were pulling money out and sticking it under the mattress. That old saying that people throw around too loosely. It was really being done.
Yeah.
I got buddies of mine I work with, they were buying gold bars. I'm looking at them like, what the fuck are you going to do with this? You're buying gold bars? What are you
Get
doing?
a pocket knife
What,
out
you gonna
and
melt
peel
it
off a
down?
chip.
My
What, are you
friends
gonna
were using
barter it on the street? What are they
my
gonna
friends were using the big blocks of silver as doorstops.
do?
And then,
But I wasn't even, that's what I'm saying. Like in 2008, the last couple of days, the bounce and all, I had no idea what took place. I had no idea. I don't remember. I just can't even remember anything about the lows in 2008. But you were in the heat of the moment. What were you doing, Ronchero?
If you can call it lucking out, I had been blown out for the second time previous to that crash because I was going through a divorce. So I can remember when we were getting blown out, I was like hanging out at my parents' place up in Oregon in the woods. And I was just like, I've got to scrape money back together because this is an opportunity to buy some shit. Because it's either going to go out zero or we're going to get our feet back in here and we'll have some opportunities to the upside, right?
Wow, see that? Everyone's got a different outlook. And you know what was crazy about that besides everything else we're talking about? Okay, there were a ton of opportunities on the downside. Okay, things were melting. Like I remember this, okay? There were rumors about, I think before no, it was after Lehman went under. I don't know. They were buying puts on one of these major banks, literally $40 out of the money, single digit puts, a month or two out. And there was a big trading and everything. And we saw action in them. So people started playing puts in these things and they were doubling and tripling, instantly just off the buy. But what happened, that lasted for literally a week. Because what happened was you were concerned about having funds at that firm. What happens if that firm goes down?
Right.
Now you got to get that money, even if you're insured. You want to be bothered with chasing that money down? Right. You understand?
Yeah.
So now we were weighing, talk about risk reward, Chris. We were weighing, is it worth trying to make a couple shekels on the downside and then wait for our money because we can't even get access to our whole principal? So you know what I mean? We couldn't even enjoy the downside and profit from it at that point because we were worried about the whole entire account. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Can we switch? Does the Ukraine matter?
I don't think so.
Does Putin does the president of China tell Putin to back the fuck off until after the Winter Olympics? If he's going to,
that seems a little far-fetched,
right?
Well, you think it? What's
I don't think it matters. Do you?
You're talking about matters to the market?
Yeah, matters to the market.
I just think it's an added into everything that's going. I think everything that matters right now, I think is right now anyway, it's the balance sheet. Because every time those two words are being thrown around or come out of Powell's mouth, okay, there's a violent market reaction. Okay, they talk about raising rates 600 times until March, right? By March, and the market didn't blink. As soon as those two words run off the balance sheet, comes out of his mouth, it's a la late 2018 again. Same shit, the same shit, right? Remember late 2018 autopilot? Powell said this. Powell said, listen, you know, we're going to run down the balance sheet. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's going to be on autopilot. You won't even know it's happening. It'll be in the background. It's on autopilot. Don't worry about it. As soon as that press conference ended, those words came out of his mouth. The market never had an uptick after that again.
It was like back to the Stone Age. I mean, it's so
autopilot. That was the classic phrase coming out of that. You guys
all right. So
that, right?
how far does the S&P have to drop before they won't raise rates?
Okay, that's I think the question of the hour. The Fed put.
Right.
Okay. And I think everybody's trying to figure that out. What do you guys think? I don't think there's an answer. I just think, you know, people are trying to take a guess at it. You know, a couple of reputable people I follow are talking under 4,000. Yeah. Okay. So you got to get to that point first.
Right.
But what's your guess? You have even a guess or a level or?
I mean, I think you risk riots. Essentially, what happens is because if the market craters, then layoffs happen. Then you have $6 gas in California, and you don't have a strong, you know, you have a weaker economy, and then that's when the real riots start. So I think that the Fed will do everything it can to keep the prices of stocks up to match the price of gas, so to speak, or the price of food, and so the put.
So wait. If energy comes down,
right,
you think then the Fed put comes down with it?
I think if energy comes down, it takes the heat off of if inflation cools.
Right. Then the put comes lower.
Yes.
Right.
I don't think it's out of the question if real panic and margin calls come in and all of Chris's buddies who are still long finally capitulate. I mean, SPY 350 is not out of the question.
Yeah. I was looking at a chart that's not that far-fetched. You know what what I think it comes down to? I don't even think it matters the S&P. I don't think it matters stocks. It's the credit markets. As soon as the credit markets start to react, you understand?
Yeah. They say that, right? They say, watch the junk spreads.
Yeah, well, that stuff, it hasn't really done much yet. You know, they haven't blinked. But as soon as they do, that's usually when the Fed poops his bloomers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And starts to take things seriously. So
do you think there's any wood to the argument of that the Fed had a place in setting asset prices when we were in a recession, but now that we're in a superheated economy, they need to back the fuck away from trying to control the markets?
Well, say that again.
In other words, that all these guys who are paid as analysts or strategists at the big banks,
right,
are at risk of losing their job because the Fed is basically setting prices for everything.
Oh, okay.
And so they're on the news wires this morning on Bloomberg, these guys ahead of JP Morgan's credit and equity strategies saying like the Fed has no position in the markets determining asset value prices in an expansion. Like all these,
without a doubt, but aren't we way past that point? I mean, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, so the argument then becomes, does the market actually become so volatile that the Fed, it becomes a smaller player just because?
Oh, yeah. Forever. I don't see it ever going away. How's it go away?
Right. Because they were doing it because they were expanding their balance sheet, which was allowing them to become the biggest, you know, like if you have the biggest order in the ring, you control the ring.
Yeah. Without a doubt. I think, Powell and Ronchero, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think post 2008, I think it's a whole different ballgame. You understand? Pre 2008, you had free markets somewhat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Post 2008, it's a rigged game. You know, it's basically a rigged game, and sometimes the Fed will come and try to, you know, unrig it in a sense and get free markets back in. But as soon as shit hits the fan, they're gonna get back in and do their thing.
Right. I think you're, and to dovetail on what you're saying, Jay, and you know, guys like you and me and Chris, I don't know how many of us are here and active and in these markets where we've seen this, but there's a decade worth of traders in our system that have never traded a market similar to a 2008 or prior. And
Right.
if we go back to that type of environment, I think there is a high risk that a lot of funds and professionals who haven't lived it and trade it could be in serious trouble.
Oh, yeah.
But
I
they're
agree
just
with
no disrespect. They're just collateral damage.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. But I'm just saying that could just carry on the perpetuation of what is happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying if that scenario plays out, that's a scenario. I think that could happen. I think that could play out.
Are you guys
ahead.
surviving this volatile sort of last couple
Yeah.
week and a half? Yeah, I'm doing
Well,
good.
I'm not doing much. That's the only reason I'm surviving. I'm not doing much.
Uh-huh.
So
What do you think of the odds are of a bounce from here?
I think, well, that's what I said. I think probably over the next week, we get some big earnings here, and you're going to see reactions to those earnings. And I think the proof is going to be in the pudding there, whether these lows hold. And like you said, we work off some of this breadth and sentiment, and then we can reevaluate, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But if if there's that bad of a reaction to earnings, or for whatever reason, and things just cascade to the downside, there's something else out there, because it shouldn't. You understand? If there's nothing else that we don't know about happening, because again, the credit markets aren't really reacting. There's nothing out there that we see right now that's telling us crashy. You understand?
Yeah.
And if the price action's crashy, then we're just not seeing it. You understand? We're not seeing it. Like that's what happened in late 2018. It started to roll over, and people couldn't realize what the hell it was. And if you remember, back then it was the cyclicals that were getting crushed, not the growth stocks. The cyclicals were getting demolished. There wasn't a bit to be found in these things, right? Because global growth, Trump trade war going on, all that shit. So it was a different animal. But then when the credit markets got involved, that was like after we started selling, and then we sold off like what, 20%, was it? What was the 2018? I think it was around
20.
20%.
It is 20% in December, Jay. It was like
20%. Okay, so
in December. In December.
Oh my God.
December. Right.
Oh my God. So
hey, wait, time out. How are you dealing? You watching the way these things move? I mean, the S&Ps are moving 20 handles in a blink.
I know. So
how are you dealing with that?
I'm not. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not. Right now, I'm not. Like, here's my goal. Like, here's my goal here, right?
He went out and got another dog.
He got another dog to keep me occupied.
No, come on. It's a serious question. Like,
no, it's a serious question. What I have a tendency to do when things get like this, I step aside and I wait. You understand? I wait. I don't get rambunctious. I don't get FOMO. I don't take the needle, because like you're saying, these moves are so drastic, right? Especially if you're playing options, with implied vol through the roof. It's crazy. It's crazy. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep reminding me to keep my eyes on the big picture. And the big picture is like Ronchero was doing in 2008. That's why I was so envious of that comment. He was sitting back, and it was a good thing that he had nothing, because he saw opportunity. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm looking to this. For me, there will be an opportunity. It's either going to come after a 20% crash, okay?
Yep.
Or there's going to be a legitimate bear market rally where, Chris, these bear market rallies are no joke. Not even the violent move to the upside. It can last for a good month. You know what I mean? Or 2 months. So that's where I'm going to look to try to make some money on the long side. But right now, it's too fast for me. It's too fast.
Yeah.
It's too fast.
Or, maybe, in my case, trade smaller with no stop, and then just.
Yeah, well, that's, but you're looking to take advantage of the downside.
Right.
You got the momentum at your back you've had.
Yeah.
You understand?
Right. Yeah.
Like, for me, I'm long only. You understand? So I have no place. This is no place to get in, right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. That's the difference. Where if you do play the downside, it's obviously been worth, getting involved. This is what you wait for, right? You can't you can't play the downside and then melt up.
No.
You sell rallies and do all that shit, but
Right. What can we do, right? We can buy weakness, you can buy strength, you can sell strength, but you could have never sold weakness.
right.
Chris, who's that stalker behind you?
Watch your back, Chris.
I don't know. I don't know.
You should be concerned.
Not really. Life in New York is pretty wild.
The Fed bugged your office over there.
Right? Come on, we're going to be canceled, right? Like, holy cow.
I heard you were a bear. That's it.
All right, so Ukraine doesn't matter.
I got a question for you. And it's a touchy subject. Okay. People don't like to give their real opinion. You call the boomer, you call this, you call that.
Right.
What happens when Bitcoin blows the fuck up? I want to know. Okay. What happens when that happens? Okay. What kind of impact does that have when that exogenous event hits the board, when Bitcoin goes to $10? No, I don't know, $10. But if Bitcoin I'm talking about Bitcoin can't crash. It's like people can't talk about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like a Bitcoin crash. What happens if Bitcoin crashes?
The dip buyers show up.
Does it matter?
I'm asking, does it matter?
I don't know. I don't know if it matters. I don't think it matters.
I think it matters.
You still think it doesn't matter, Ronchero?
I think it's correlated to stocks.
It's going to matter as far as wealth effect is concerned. You know how much money has been made off Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Right? You talk about net worths of this generation getting tattooed, Ronchero. It's not going to matter? Yeah,
no, it matters in a big way.
So
I guess maybe it doesn't matter because I don't have it.
Me too. That's the thing. So, that's why we could talk about it. But I don't think enough people talk about or are even concerning themselves with the thought of what happens if shit hits the fan there. Okay,
so Jay, in 2000, when pets.com was worth more than General Motors, and then 9 months later it was bankrupt, nobody talked about it. And that whole period of 2000 when internet stocks were like, we don't need to make money because then we're subject to the valuation metrics that value stocks. And until we make money, until we make money, the sky's the limit. And then it all went away and nobody talked about it. And then the only things that I could find in describing the social phenomenon that was the 2000 internet top was that it was a period of collective sort of wishful thinking, magical thinking in the human mind, and that they just sweep it under the rug. So it will just go away.
That's a good point. So you're saying that, okay, so what you just said now, that's you talk about touchy subject. You just put Bitcoin, right? These coins in this, basically comparing it to pets.com and the internet names.
Well, I'm saying that if it does occur, I do think it's a valid asset class. I can't speak to the actual value of the thing, but
valid asset classes can get killed.
Of course,
they could have crashes and bear markets.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't want to own a record store, a travel agency. Right. That kind of thing. Right. And so things change. Right. But in regards to the particular value, as well as I do, right? Like we may be right direction, but the timing's uncertain.
Right.
And
so that's a good point, though. That's probably, I guess, and you go through a rough time like we did post 2000, right?
Right. Well, think about it this way too, right? Successful social behavior is contagious. Okay, so that means unsuccessful social behavior is not talked about. Would be right. It's like that weird uncle at Thanksgiving, right? He's just like at the end of the table, and then he goes, and no one ever talks about it.
Where do you get this shit? He pulls this shit out of his ass every topic. It's amazing. I get you. You paint a nice picture. Anyway, go ahead.
Right, but the idea is that so if successful social behavior is contagious, therefore people will always want to trumpet their winners, and then they don't ever talk about the losers. So if I'm not saying it will, but if crypto does trade lower, people will just, nobody wants to talk about their losers.
Right. So it just gets swept under the rug. That's interesting. Interesting.
And it'll be just another tulip thing, right? Like people 200 years from now, people are like, where's that chart of that thing, that coin?
That's so true. That's so true. All right, you make me feel a little better about things. That's so
Okay.
true. But
Right?
yeah, the difference is I think this generation's so screwed up in the head. You know what I mean? Like they'll burn the New York Stock Exchange down if crypto goes to zero. Yeah, right? Like they're crazy. They're not normal. They're not normal people, these people.
What's wrong with the kids?
What's wrong with these kids these days? You know?
Hey, you know, the kids in New York are smart, and they're, you know, I see them everywhere, and they're driven, and you know,
They're
they're
all
living.
smart. They're all intelligent.
Yeah.
But they're just psychopathic nut jobs. You know, they're very intelligent.
They want a medal. You got to give them a medal for participation.
You kidding me? What they like, the shit they talk about, and just crypto in general, these NFTs and all this stuff. I got smoke coming out of my ears. My brain can't even go anywhere near there. So I'm not saying they're not intelligent.
You know what? But I do notice that they're learning by they're looking at the older people in front of them, you know, that are between my age and their age, and they're looking at them and they see what they don't like about them per se, in regards to whether it's a particular political view or a particular gender view or whatever. And I see that they're very amenable. Like, for example, remember when Zuckerberg went and he raised money in a sweatshirt?
Yeah.
In the VC, right? And
Yeah,
everyone was wearing
it was
a
like
suit,
a big deal then. Yeah.
right? And so he was like, he was saying at that point, he was saying like, look, this is our generation. We're going to do it differently than your generation. And now Zuckerberg's like in the middle, and these younger kids, right? And then after Zuckerberg went around, nobody wore suits, right? Nobody wore a tie, even at Goldman, right? They
what
don't
you're
have to wear a
saying is
tie.
maybe I'm just a boomer and I just don't get it.
What I'm
Right?
saying is that no, I'm saying that the kids that are coming up now that are 20 to 25 are really smart and watching both our generation, the Zuckerberg generation, and
Right.
they don't view even the Zuckerberg perspective as returning the results, because you know there's so few startup opportunities now,
Yeah.
because they can, you know, the big, you know, Amazon, Netflix, Amazon, Google,
The
Facebook,
big guys. Yeah.
right? They control all the data. And so if
Yeah.
you need to sell something to somebody, you got to go to the data merchants, and they're just like, no, we're not selling you, or the data that becomes so expensive. So I'm saying is that whatever happens to the coins, it may be tied to a specific age bracket and some sort of institutional investment, but the kids who are coming up have their own agenda and their own viewpoints, and they're smart, and they're well trained.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
Right.
point. They are that. Listen, that whole. I'm not even talking about the crypto traders. I'm talking about the brains behind crypto. You just have to hear them talk about the business for a half a minute to know that they're very intelligent, right?
Yeah.
Like they know their shit.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, they're not these guys with gorilla avatars online, and you're talking about apples and oranges here.
Right.
But so I wouldn't have the audacity to call them stupid. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I guess it's in, you make a good point. Maybe it is, see, I was looking at it as bigger, maybe because it's just a generational thing, like you're saying. But if you think back through history, right, the internet was huge, right? It was
Right.
huge. Was huge back then.
Huge. Right.
Right? And that blew up. So probably just some pain, like you said, a cycle that we go through, right? Going back to tulips and everything else.
Yeah. The question is that, you know, when it drops 90% in price, is it a buy?
Well, didn't it do it already too?
Yes, it
Right?
did.
It's like does it every year. You know what I mean? It does it every year. So I don't know. I'm telling you, I'm especially with like these NFTs and all this stuff. I am lost in space. I like we were talking about in recently, Ronchero. When you see, like, the first thing I turned on the internet, Twitter or online, whatever it was, and the big headline, the big article to catch my eye, the first thing in the morning was about some 22-year-old YouTube broadcaster, whatever, Instagrammer, jarring her farts and making millions selling. Hold on, let me see if I can.
She had to stop because she was going to blow her colon out, right?
Yeah, wait. She's selling the NFTs to her farts. Am I saying it right? Like, is that? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, she
The
she had to stop selling the jarred farts and make NFTs. Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell, what's that mean? Like, what is that? What's an NFT of a fart? I don't get it. And how do you get a fart into a jar and then convince somebody to buy it for thousands of dollars? Explain that to me, please.
Jay, do you own any art, physical art?
Nah, nothing major. Like
Okay.
ages ago, me and my wife went on a little Thomas Kincaid kick, like back in the day. You know Thomas Kincaid?
I do not.
You do not? Oh,
I do not.
he was like a popular, but I'm not an art guy, no.
Uh-huh. And Ronch, do you own any art?
Yes, but not anything of extreme value. But I mean, yes, I have some things.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean,
Is that what
it is an asset class.
NFTs.
I don't have any NFTs. I am, you know what though? I think so Jay, you talked about the coins. Well, what if there's just a transition from coins to NFTs? It seems like there's more legitimacy, or at least what I can see as a platform in NFTs than all these different coins that get released.
Really? I honestly, I can't even have this conversation. I'm embarrassed to say I can't even have this conversation with you, Ronchero. I really don't. You know what I mean? Like at first I thought NFTs were art, and instead of a copyright or whatever, NFT was on an imaginary ledger somewhere out there in space, and it vouched for you for the ownership of it. Oh, the guy got him, Ronchero. The guy got him.
Got him right.
We got rewind the tape. We got that guy in the background.
The uncle from Thanksgiving.
Right? Oh my God. Sorry, boys.
You're right. The guy's gone too. You scared the daylight out of him.
Gosh, not cool.
That's all right. Add a couple cups of coffee to that mix, and that's me every day. The coffee.
Ronch, that's genius though. What if that art NFTs become the equivalent of coins?
Possible that it slides that way. I don't know.
I don't either.
Seems like a possibility.
I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah. Anyway, but
before we get off this, this is a serious question. Can you explain the NFT process to me? Very just simple terms of the jarred fart. I'm being honest. I'm not joking around here. I need to know how it applies to NFTs, a jarred fart. Because like I said, I thought it was a picture of a monkey that you can verify is yours on some ledger. I thought that was an NFT. How does it apply to a jar of fart?
I don't know.
You don't know? For real?
For real, I don't know.
I mean, this was the biggest thing though. People were paying thousands of dollars, weren't they? Or was that a made up story?
No. They were
real.
Real money.
It's real?
Real money. She may have been getting paid in coins though, right? Like,
but how do you know how fart's in the jar? What do you pay? I don't understand. What are you paying for? You understand my point, Ronchero? I'm not even trying to be funny here. Like
I know, but it's funny. I don't know.
Physically farts in a jar on video, and you see with your own two eyes, and it's a legitimate fart in a jar. Like how? I could just give you a jar of nothing, and say I farted in the jar, and you paid $2,000 for it. I mean, this is what really F's my brain up with this crowd. You know, Ronchero? Come on, you two. You're a boomer too. You know it at heart.
I'm a Gen Xer.
We
don't lump me in your category.
We never, I understand as time goes on, it gets crazy and crazy. There was nothing like pets.com, it made sense. You're going to sell pet stuff online. Oh, you're going to make millions. I could see getting excited about it. You understand? The story made sense, even though, it was far-fetched. But this just blows my mind. And I can't get anybody to explain it to me. That's the funniest part of it all, is that I've asked literally 100 people already, and nobody can explain to me this NFT jar fart situation.
Okay, wait a minute. We've had like 200-point ranges in the S&P. Tesla's earnings just came out, and this is.
And this is what we're talking about.
This is Tesla. Tesla beats.
What,
I don't know how bad, how much it beats by, but
what
254.
was the stock doing anyway? Forget what the. Oh wait, the conference call did it even start yet? No, right?
And then Intel beat.
I think that's down now.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, Intel beat and
Tesla-
gave good guidance. So I think, semis is one of those areas where after this kind of is all blowed up, that
Intel's flat, by the way.
there's going to
Okay,
be
thanks.
opportunity. Lamb missed, they're down.
And
That's
then we
another
have,
opportunity.
we have,
Lamb missed. Oh, that's a beast, that stock. Let me see. LRCX.
and then
Down 35, 34.
we have nothing on the news, right? That we have the Feds out of the way.
Yeah,
right?
now it's all earnings. Now it goes to all earnings, for the most part. I'm sure balance sheet still is, but you got Apple tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you
Wait,
got
apples
Apple
today,
tomorrow.
apples tonight?
Tomorrow. I thought,
Tomorrow, okay.
yeah.
That
Tomorrow.
stock's been kind of getting hit, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, all considering,
has.
it's back to where it was in December. I mean, that's not really a hit. you
Right.
know?
It's now no longer 3 trillion, it's 2 point.
Yeah, that's like these stocks. It would take end game for these things to really get lumped up. I can't see these things not, getting lumped up unless it's all over.
How much of a bounce would make you a seller
In
in the
the,
indexes, in say the S&P? What if we were down 10%?
yeah,
more.
wait.
11, right? Weren't we
Wait.
down 11 from the high?
We're down 11%. You sell a 50% retracement or higher?
I honestly, you're already lumping me into your bearish category. Okay, I'm not.
All right, where, if you were to buy them, would you blow them out halfway up?
Oh, okay, I see your question. So what if I have I'm underwater on a piece of SPY April calls that
Right.
I nibbled on, right?
Right.
Which I'm not looking to sell a squeeze. Okay, that's just a starter position to get my beak wet. And if I decide, and when I decide to step in, I can pick a different lines just to get the ball rolling. But for a trade, if I was buying here, I wouldn't even look at levels. I'd look at more on the sentiment side. And once I see that get more in a neutral stance, then I would look to roll or readjust. You know what I mean? But Chris, here, what I'm saying is, I'm not convinced it's over.
No, we're not asking for that prediction. I'm just saying
Oh,
if,
so you're just talking a trade, right?
yeah, right. If they bounce, we're assuming that they're
Mhm.
oversold here. This is a test of the lows. If they bounce, the Fed's out of the way. If they,
Gotcha.
right, if they bounce, you've got good earnings, right? The average daily range is like 150 handles, right?
That's the thing. You could get, you could get a decent trade off nothing, right?
In-
Just
Right, in 3 days, you're back at the all-time highs at this rate.
yeah, but that's not that far fetched.
I know.
But if I could show my screen, right? And I'm no technician, but you literally have, since the top, a downtrend where two tops have met, and then this has really just flushed, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if you do get the bounce we're talking about, it's either going to be a pretty sizable one, or there's going to be some length to it time-wise.
Oh, that's a good point, right? In
You know
other
what I
words,
mean?
yeah, to wear out the bears.
To work it off, right.
Yeah, to wear out the oversold, all you have to do is prop them up and freeze the puck, run out the clock.
Exactly.
Condor,
So
that's fine.
freeze the puck. So that's why I think there's a lot to pay attention to here. If we get a few retests here and the lows hold and things start to look constructive, I think there are multiple entries that we can play off of this level, off the lows. You know what I mean? If you get that quick snapback squeeze, to your point, I think you want to take that off the table and then look for a better entry again.
I mean,
Does that make sense?
yes, it does, right? You fade the quick move and you hold the slow move,
Right. Exactly.
which makes perfect sense. The idea is though you've made a higher low here today on a pretty solid washout.
Yeah, that's the odds are that Monday's low should hold. Right. It should. That's why to go back to our earlier point, if it does not, you got real trouble, right?
Or at least, hey, we'll see how many people are comfortable with their longs if we trade underneath Monday's low. And it'd probably be one of those situations where they make a new low and come back in the range. And then
that would be super bullish.
Right, so bullish, right? Yeah.
That would be super bullish.
As long as you see, right, there's no selling under that low, right? All of a sudden,
that
volume
follow
drives.
through. Exactly.
That'd be sick.
So that's what I think we need to pay attention to. And I think, if we do hold it, we get a rally, and then, a few days later, we get another sell-off. I still think that sell-off is buyable for a trade again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it just goes away, so that's what I'm looking towards here. What I'm hoping, here's what I'm hoping for, right? You're asking me what I'm hoping for?
Yeah.
I'm hoping in a wide range, like you mentioned, because the price action is psychotic, we kind of bang around here a little bit, right? So squeeze, then another flush, get people really bared up thinking, here come new lows. We hold, squeeze, and as we're banging around, the market washes more bulls out, reels in more bears, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sentiment gets improved, right? Maybe we see some smart money step into the picture. Ronchero, Sharpies, commercial hedgers start to get aggressively long into the selling like they usually do. And then I think that sets up a really, really nice floor for us. We can play off of. And, you could probably play the short side too after rips. But I think for longs, that would be ideal. So to get to the point, I would look to add something into each and every flush that we see from that point.
Cool.
Right? Make sense?
Yeah.
I know.
I like to buy it on the way back up, though. I don't like to buy if I leave a little bit at the bottom, I'm okay with it. I'd rather be adding on the way up.
Right. You want to see constructive price action, right?
Yeah. Right.
That's what you want to see. That makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense, right?
I'm not saying the lows. I'm just saying there will be, like, if you think about post-COVID, that rally, okay, every day of selling, each and every day post those COVID lows, felt like the market was ready to blow up. And every one of those days was a buying opportunity and a sweet entry. Every single one of those days, and you got so many of them.
50% lower than here, right? 2,200, was that right?
What? Oh, the COVID lows.
Yeah.
Where was that? Oh my God.
Sorry, that was right. So anyway,
that's what scares me.
That wasn't that long ago.
I know.
Right.
You're talking about at 2,200, right? Oh
yeah.
My God. The scariest thing, Chris, that scares me as a bull is when I scroll back to look at prior lows on charts and I just see this uptrend that scares the living crap out of me. You know what I mean?
As it should.
Yeah, and that's right, Ronchero. All those growthier names, when they started coming down, and everybody thought they were opportunities. But if you scroll back in the chart and see how much they've rallied off those COVID lows, I mean,
that's why I'm saying 350 is not that far fetched. That's 50% retracement of that move.
350. So that's going back to basically the election breakout, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to September of 04, where we chopped around.
04?
Yeah.
No.
Sorry. September of 20. The very beginning of September of 2020.
That's the election. That's
right,
the election, right before the election.
Right.
Yep. That was the last little consolidation we had, and then we had that major break.
Yeah, and then you broke out in November after the election.
Wow. It can happen quick too. Shit hits the fan. It can happen quick. We'll see. Like I said, I think the next week or two, I think is going to be huge here. I really do.
What time are you guys going to bed? I mean, are you getting it? This is like so exhausting, right? Do you guys go to bed?
I suffer. Yeah. I get up through the night. I look at, it's a disaster. I got to work on my sleep habits. They're awful.
Right?
When I turn this off, I don't think about it again.
Oh, that's so awesome. I can't do that. I'm a degenerate.
It took a long time for me to get there.
Yeah, I guess that comes with time. It should, but it didn't come to me. It got worse through the years,
Yeah, I like to watch.
Me too. I see that's the thing too. I guess through experience, when you can watch this game without making donations, you got to be proud of that. Like, that's something I'm proud of. I can sit in front of the screen and I don't just have to buy something and piss away my money. You know what I mean? I enjoy the game without losing money. You know, it makes
Agreed.
sense.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with experience. I think, you know, you got to get tired of making those donations just for no reason to get to that point. But I can do that. You know what I mean? I need to do it. Like people talk about, why don't I go on vacation more? If I step away from the market for a couple of days and I don't look at it, when I come back, I feel like I'm on another planet. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen to you guys.
Sure.
I had no idea what's going on anymore. Just in a matter of days, no clue what's going on.
It's like you wake up in a strange hotel room. You're like, where am I?
I love vacation. I'm really good at it.
I'm envious of that.
I'm with Jay. I think it's better than watching Euphoria or whatever that is on HBO Max now that everybody's watching.
Yeah, TV went out the window with this game, right? TV.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't watch TV nowhere near as much.
Do you ever yell at the screen?
Yo, I talk to stocks like my dogs. I talk to stocks. Yeah. I got nicknames for them. I got songs for them. Right? The chat room knows. Every popular symbol has their own little theme song to them. But
so you really want to do that? You know, you're like
yeah,
you're gonna be that kind of person?
Yeah. I'm that kind of person.
No, I mean, I say that to the market, right? Like,
stock.
Yeah, like you're really
well, I'm not that nice and polite like you are, but you know what I mean? There's usually a lot of vulgar and a lot of cursing in the mix. But yeah, I talk to them religiously. I know Ronchero talks to them. Ronchero talks to his shoulders when shit is the fan, so he's definitely putting this up. I know Ronchero. But yeah, guys, I think we have at the least an interesting time for us to at least enjoy the markets, right? Win or lose, we like the game. We're passionate about the game.
Yep.
I think it sucked the second half of last year at the least. I'm being honest.
I'm glad I'm still in business.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. You got to be proud of each little thing in this game. You got to pat yourself on the back.
That's so true.
Because it's so easy to beat yourself up over shit, right?
Yeah. And anybody who needs to get patted on the back can meet me for a beer, and I will pat you on the back. I am dead serious.
The little things, though. The little things.
Yeah.
You know, like even as simple as today, Fed day, chaotic. You know, I stayed in cash. You be proud of that, right?
For sure. There are many people who say never be in the market when the Fed's in the market.
Yeah. I mean, avoiding, you know, what's the old saying, right? I think it was Buffett. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, right? Don't lose money.
Revert back to rule.
Revert back to rule number 1. Yeah. There you go.
Right. The first rule, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
I like Fed Day. Fed Day is I contra trade the first move on Fed Day.
The reaction.
A lot of
that's in the playbook,
today it
right?
worked really well. So
that happened. Today was a great trade for that.
Yeah.
Right? You had a pop off nothing. What the hell did it pop off of?
No idea. But that was the signal.
That was Janet.
It was Janet.
You had a pop without even the press conference starting. Nothing was mentioned. You knew they weren't raising rates today. So what the hell was that pop about?
That pop was getting them up and away from unchanged because they needed as much distance between unchanged and the Fed meeting as they could as a cushion.
Jesus.
Right? They needed to put them up as high as they could as a cushion to just keep the headline at the end of the day. Like I think the NASDAQ closed like flat and we closed damn close to flat. After the worst, it was down, it dropped 100 handles. So, I mean, I think that buying was just preemptive to give them some cushion into if in fact it was going to be perceived as negative, which it was.
Mm-hmm.
What did VIX do today?
It came back actually. I mean, it was like way up outside of its 10% window on its 10-day moving average, which everybody should put up is put a 10% band on the 10% VIX, 10-day moving average of the VIX. But
they were buying the crap out of the VXX going into the day too.
Jay, check this out. They were smashing vol into the meeting.
Ahead of the meeting,
Yeah.
They were smashing vol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other day it spiked, right? Like went on 2 days ago, it spiked. until you would have thought today would have been the spike.
Right, like you figure you could have bought vol into like noon, and they just started smashing it at like 11, smashing it.
Jeez.
So
And you know what the thing is the positioning, on the positioning side of VIX, you really don't have the offsides positioning that you usually do coming
Right.
into an event
Because
like this.
Protection's still too expensive.
Yeah,
at this level.
that's what it is. You know what I mean? That's
It's
what it
still too
is.
expensive.
you guys, this is like first world problems.
Yeah.
We're whining. You're whining that the VIX is too expensive with 150 handle ranges.
It's true though. It's true.
Like, wow.
I
No crying
think
in
these
commodities,
lows
boys.
hold. Yeah, that's my gut. My gut says, again, not a level like you said, Chris, we could bust through it and then squeeze back into it. But my gut tells me we hold here for now. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, prediction free zone is my answer for today.
You don't play names at all, right?
No, I trade
Individual
indexes,
names, yeah.
just
I saw-
indexes.
I saw
That's a lot
too
less
much.
stress.
I saw too much IWM
Puts,
put
right?
buying
To get excited about anything.
exactly. And those
Jesus.
guys have been right.
Well, that
since-
took a beating
since the
today,
minute
didn't
they
it?
stepped in.
Yeah.
Finally broke that range, and they have
Yep.
been right the entire time.
It's been
And
a piece
I'm
of
with
shit.
them. I'm with them. I'm riding that short.
God, the Russell looks awful, man.
Yeah.
Think about it though, right? They only take the winners into the S&P 500. Everything else is like the kid not
Right,
picked.
Yep.
I mean, there are lawn mowing companies in the Russell 2000.
I think there's
kid
some
you
donut
not.
shops down the road from Jay's
There
house.
are
that
there
are in
for
there.
real. There are lawn mowing companies in the Russell 2000.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest story of this whole market is the damage under the hood compared to what's been
Yeah.
done in the indices, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about
Yeah.
a la 2000
Yeah.
under the hood in individual names,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Which means
Somebody
you can
just
sell a
mentioned
spike.
XBI, the biotech. Pull that up. XBI. Look, that's the small cap biotech ETF.
That's got to be getting smoked.
You talk
yeah.
about on fire. Oh. Wow.
Gents, let's wrap it at 5:33
Wow.
East Coast time.
That XBI, guys, that's looking to test the COVID lows, right?
Wow.
Getting there.
Holy cow.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff out there, right? That's all burning.
That's all small cap Kathy Biotech, Kathy Wood Arc Biotech in there.
Yep. I mean, check out IEM.
IE as in Elliot?
Yeah. India, Edward, Mike.
What the hell's that?
That's-
Impacts environmental, that?
right.
That's a lawn mowing company. Apparently.
That's a tulip market. Look at that, right? I mean,
There's so many stocks, right? Between the SPACs and all those
Right.
EV growth.
the
and-
SPACs are, oh my gosh, there's so much garbage there. So much.
But they blew up already, no?
SPACs and DSPACs are still, I mean, they're still here floating around in this IWM. That this shit's coming out. It's coming out and it's going to other places.
Like all these things aren't coming back, are they?
I don't see, Jay, in a situation, a market like this, what happens is they're going to be industries and or companies that get blown out, never to return, which
Right.
opens the door to new stuff
Right.
to come in, which is fine.
And that takes time though, no?
It does.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
it does.
So these things are done though, officially stick a fork in them, done.
That's what it looks like to me.
And nobody will talk about them.
You're right. You're so right. Right? Just get swept under the rug.
Right.
And they were so, how big, like think about that Kathy Wood. And that's where I tell you guys, I was the most fearful, like bullish sentiment, things were getting frothy. It was March of last year. And Chris, you don't follow individual names.
I know
literally
ARC.
Yeah, you could have thrown a dart at any of those names. Okay. They were doubling in a day. Some of
Yeah,
these
and then
things.
she
It was-
started going wrong. Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
It stopped
People,
working.
she sends out an email every night of what she bought, and people would wait for that email and then buy those stocks the next morning and think they were printing money. That was literally their system to trading the market.
Yeah.
So what would be advice to a listener who is long ARK?
Now,
Yep.
I can't. Now there's no advice. Now what do? You know,
What do you do,
now,
right?
honestly, if you believe in the ETF longer term, and that's the only reason you should still be in it now, is that you believe in it. And I'm talking about years now as an investment, not as a trade. As a
Right.
trade, you're blown up. It's too late. You know, what do you do now? I don't know. What are we going to do now? What advice am I going to give you? You know, get out and then you see a squeeze from here and you want to kill me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you're an investor and you believe in ARK, what you have to do is you have to dollar cost average into the shit. You have no choice at this point. You have no choice. Listen.
So Jay, you go to the doctor, he says you have 6 months to live. What do you do?
Wait,
You know,
but
I mean,
is
it's
it
like
that?
literally, it's like you're going to enjoy the time you have left. That's what we're saying, is essentially like this person who's long ARK from the highs is kind of like they're dead.
Wow, it's crazy. I really don't know. I don't know at this point. You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't know. What do you sell it here now?
I don't know. That's
If-
what I'm
if-
saying.
If you
Like,
have a longer term time frame, you sell it.
I don't know.
You need consolidation. It has to trade sideways at some point.
Yeah, when the
Otherwise,
sellers
how
dry
how
up.
can you do anything with it? Because if you capitulate here, right? Like that's just, I don't know.
You-
I wouldn't.
you know what's
I would
scary?
not be in this. I would have been
Let me
out of
tell you
this a
what's
while ago.
scary. Ready? ARK, and we can leave it at this. ARKK, right? The
Yep.
main fund there.
Yep.
It went from 30 to 170, I think it was, right? From the COVID lows to a
160.
high 160.
Yep.
Okay. So around $30, that COVID low. It's at what, 70 now?
Yeah. 69 and a half,
So like, if it was going to give back that whole COVID gain,
which it could.
you're talking about $40 to the downside from here. Oh my God.
You know what? The technicals tell you that that's a possibility, though. The
Yeah.
technicals are not giving you any reason to get long, and they're giving you every reason to just say, fuck it and be done until it starts coming back.
I guess the argument is that just we should always have a stop.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, listen, I did enough of this early in my career, and thank God it was with a smaller amount of money. And that's anybody out there who's new to the game, be thankful that you did this early in your career. If you did get stuck in something like this and you didn't do it with a larger account, and Ronchero can vouch for that, because that's where he came from. Okay. You could always come back, especially when you're newer to the game, but
You might not like it.
right, exactly.
I mean,
But-
sentiment has been, if you're just using sentiment and fundamentals and sort of a visionary view of the future, there's no reason to sell the stock. However, if you had a stop from a technical basis, courtesy of Ronch,
Right.
you at least are alive to play more of the game.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to, I think, right?
Right.
You
So, I
have
mean,
to.
right. So I guess the argument is no matter the fundamental outlook of a particular idea, you have to be able to admit you're wrong using just a price. You know, like Walter Fair used to say, you have to have a price stop.
Yeah. And Chris, when you say price stop, you mean just a point in your head where that's it, you're done. You don't mean like an actual stop order.
An actual stop, like a money number or a price
Yeah.
in the underlying.
Yeah. A point where you're going to tap out. And
Right.
I do that much sooner. And I had to learn how to do that, because if you just follow that, I'm going to ride it out. That's not a
You
solution.
can't write it out.
That is not a
There's
solution.
no such thing as write it out.
No, it's
Right.
not a
You
solution.
got to get that out of your head in this game, right? You
Yeah.
can't
Right.
write it out.
And nobody will want to hear from you and nobody will talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true, right?
Right. Nobody's
So
going to
true.
want to hear that you're long ARK from the highs.
No,
Yeah.
that's like bad vibes. Get away from me. with that
Right.
shit, right? I don't
Right.
want that shit
You get
rubbing off on
cooties.
me.
Right.
It's so true.
All right,
Oh,
boys,
guys,
let's come on, let's wrap it
I
up.
gotta,
All
I
right,
gotta
we'll
wrap.
wrap it up
So,
Yep.
Happy
good
hour.
discussion.
Guys,
A lot
it's
of
been
fun.
a pleasure.
All right, you
Really?
guys.
I will
Have a
be
great
on
night,
again,
everybody.
I promise.
All right, Jay, we love
And
you.
somebody emailed the explanation to me, please. I'm not gonna let you off that easy.
Oh,
The
hey,
fart
hey,
from the
Ray,
garden.
Fart
remember-
NFT email.
Crashes occur from oversold.
Yes, tattoo that on your
Yeah.
forehead. everybody.
Later.
All right, you
Have a
guys,
good
have a good
everybody.
night.
Bye-bye.